Hi y'all, this is Mrs.D Math, and we are going to be talking about solving percent problems. So let's go ahead and get started. So when we're solving percent problems, the first step is that a percent is equivalent to the comparison of a part to a whole. So what this means is that I'm comparing a percent to a whole, and that whole for the percent is 100. But when we talked about understanding percents, we talked about the fact that it's just a representation, that 100 that the percent is over is not always going to be the total. So what we're going to do today is figure out that if we're given a percent, then I can find out either the part or the whole, depending on what other portion I'm given. So let's go over what this actually means. And what we're showing you here is the actual representation of a percent problem. And this is called a proportion. So we have part over whole equals percent over 100. The easiest way I like to think of this is over of equals percent over 100. So here's what I mean. In this sentence, I have 30% of 400 is what number? So you notice we don't have the words part or whole in this entire sentence. But I can use this information and use my actual formula here to plug it in. So if I were to plug this in, I have three different parts of this equation that are going to change. And the parts that can change is my is, my of, and my percent. My 100 never changes because percent is always over 100. So the three things that can change are the three things that I'm going to be trying to solve for. I'm always going to be given two of those three parts. So let's go back to this problem here. If our percent is represented by blue, in this case I have 30%, is red, and of we're going to use yellow. So it says 30% of 400 is what number? Well, there is no number included with is, so that's what we're going to actually be looking for. So in place of is in my equation, I'm going to put an X because I don't know that number. Now 100 never changes. The other parts of my equation, I have of 400, so that means that my of is going to be 400, and my percent, it tells me, is 30. So using this information in just this one little sentence, I can fill in the formula and then I can actually solve for the X. In this case, I can solve by saying that 100 goes into 400 4 times. If I take 30 times 4, I end up with the answer 120. So that means that 120 out of 400 total is 30%. For my second problem, we want to use the same proportion formula to find the percent representing a part. So let's show our formulas again. I have part over whole equals percent over 100, or is over of equals percent over 100. So my is going to be red, my of is going to be yellow, my percent is going to be blue, and my 100 always stays the same. Now you don't have to actually use different colors. Sometimes it's easier to use different representations, like a circle for one, a square for another, and maybe underline twice for the third one. Whatever makes it easy for you. I just like to have a system where I can label them and I don't get confused. So for this next one, we have 19 out of 25 students is what percent? Now the way this one is worded makes it a little bit trickier than the last one, but let's break it down. So I have 19 out of 25 students. So I see the word of here, so that means of 25 is my of. Now I see is here, but it says is what percent. So that's not my is, that's going to be my percent. So that means that the is going to be 19. Now if you look at this, even though it doesn't say is in front of 19, it says 19 out of 25. So that would be your part and your whole. So let's go ahead and fill it in. So I have 19 out of 25, so that's my of, and then my percent is what I'm actually trying to solve for. So in this case, 25 goes into 100 4 times. So if I do 19 times 4, I can solve for my percent. So 9 times 4 is 36. 4 plus 3 is 76. So 76 is my percent. So that means that 19 out of 25 people, 19 is representing 76%. For the third step here, we're going to use the same formula to find the whole when given the part and the percent. So let's review again. I have part over whole equals percent over 100, or I have is over of equals percent over 100. And I'm going to keep all of my colors the same here for this one, just to make it easy. 60 minutes is 20% of what number? All right, again, this one is written a little bit different, but we can still label our parts. So I know that my percent is always going to be the number with the percent sign. So if there is not a number with a percent sign, like this, then that's what you're going to look for, is the percent. If there is a number with a percent sign, that's always going to be your percent. Now this one says of what number? So my of is what I'm looking for. I'm going to go ahead and write my percent in here. That means that my is going to be this 60 minutes. So what they're saying is 60 minutes out of how many total minutes represents 20%. Now, we also need to talk about some of the relationship here within our proportion, which is what we call this, when two fractions or ratios are equal. 20 compared to 100 is pretty small. It's less than half. And then 20 compared to 60 is also small. That means that X is going to be greater than 60 and greater than 100. So it's going to be a pretty large number. Let's see if we can figure this one out. So 20 goes into 60 3 times. So on the bottom, I'm going to multiply 100 times 3, and that equals 300. So that means that 20% out of 300 is going to be only 60. Now that we kind of have the concept down here, let's go ahead and do some practice problems. I'm going to go ahead and write the formula. Is over of equals percent out of 100. So that's going to always be your formula. So let's look at our first statement here. 5 is what percent of 20? Now, I don't have a percent sign anywhere in this problem, so that means that what percent is the one I'm looking for. So that's my X. Now I have an is and an of. 5 is my is, 20 is my of. So now I have 20 and 5. Now, does your of always have to be bigger than your is? No, it does not. So your of and your is do not always have to be small number over big number. If your top number is bigger, that means your percent is going to be greater than 100. I'm going to go ahead and have you pause the video and see if you can solve for the percent on this one. All right, now that you've had a chance, let's try it together and check your work. So 20 goes into 100 5 times. On the top, 5 times 5 equals 25%. The next one says 75% of what number is 15? So again, our percent, we have a percent sign this time, so I know that 75 is going to be my percent. So that means I'm going to be looking for my is or my of. Well, if I read the rest of the problem, it says 75% of what number is 15. So that means that in this case, 15 is my of, and in this case, 15 is my is, and x is my of. Go ahead and take a minute, pause the video, and see if you can solve this one. Okay, so 15 goes into 75 5 times, so that means that this time I'm working backwards to get to x, and I'm going to divide 100 by 5. Well, 100 divided by 5 is 20. So that means that 15 out of 20 people represents 75%. For the last one, for our practice problems here, we have what number is 80% of 40? So I have my percent sign here. So the number in front of that percent sign is always going to be your percent. So 80 is my percent. Here I have the word is, and I don't have a number anywhere around it. And then of is going to be 40. So of is my 40. That means is the one I'm trying to solve for. Go ahead and take a minute and see if you can solve this one. Okay, now this one we have 40 into 100, which doesn't go evenly. So I'm going to show you one other way that you can solve this, because even if you did 40 into 100 and then you divided 80 by that number, you still would get the correct answer, but you're going to have to work with decimals. So let's look here. I can take my numbers that are diagonal from each other and I can multiply those. So I have 80 times 40, I have 2 zeros, and 8 times 4 is 32. Now I would divide by 100. So if I'm going to divide 3200 by 100, it's the same as a percent to a decimal. I'm going to move my decimal 2 places to the left, which means my x is represented by 32. Now, whenever I said it doesn't necessarily have to be people that we're talking about, let's just say we go into an animal shelter. And in that animal shelter, they have 40 total animals, and they tell you that 80% of their animals are dogs. That means that if we were to do the math here, 32 out of the 40 total animals are dogs. Now, if we subtract, the amount left would be 8 animals. So those other 8 animals are cats, and those 8 animals are represented by 20% that's left here on the percent side. So let's go ahead and recap our steps here for solving percent problems. A percent is equivalent to the comparison of a part to a whole, and that means that my percent always has to go over 100. I can use the proportion formula to find the percent representing a part. I can also find the whole when given the part and the percent. So this same formula can be used to find the part, the whole, or the percent. Out of the two that are given, I can always find the third. I know this is going to take some practice. If you want to watch this video several more times, that's fine. Be ready if you have questions to ask me something specific so that I can give you the best help possible. This is Mrs. D signing off on solving percent problems. I hope you have a great day and we'll see you in the next video. Bye!